This is what the Chinese business model is all about. They've continually pursued something called elite capture, where they're trying to form relationships, financial, personal, and otherwise, with members of American society. It's one of the reasons why they've been able to turn Hollywood. It's one of the reasons why they've been able to turn Silicon Valley. It's one of the reasons why they've been able to turn the government.
Much of Washington is now trying to figure out who else might be involved in the Biden family business. Now that Republican investigators have said that it was not just Joe Biden and his son Hunter who received Chinese donations, that there's one more Biden on the receiving end. From the Government Accountability Institute and co-host of the Drill Down podcast with Peter Schweitzer, we're joined by Eric Eggers. Eric, thanks for being on Centerpoint.
Rob, it's my pleasure, as always.
So let's go to Congress for a second here, because Representative Comer, the Oversight Committee, has given a deadline of March 21st to Biden to turn over, and the administration, any of these documents and information about these documents. What do you think they're looking for?
I think they're looking for more revelations like what they just uncovered. How much more money from China went to members of the Biden family? If it was recently revealed that an associate of Hunter Biden's was able to divvy up some $3 million to this new, among other people, mysterious Biden family member, then that's exactly the kind of thing they're looking for. They're looking for more concrete evidence. They're looking for specifics. They're looking to find the money trail that goes from the Chinese government to the Biden personal family fortune. And unfortunately, there appears to continually be more to find. I mean, Rob, think about this. The scandal isn't that, oh my gosh, the president's family is linked financially to the government of our greatest competitor globally. The scandal is, oh, there's another member of the Biden family that's linked to the Chinese government. Like, what kind of world are we living in? But they're looking to continue to trace this sordid and shady family tree. And I'm glad to know that the Republicans are coming down to the wire and will continue to chase every money trail until they're able to paint the full picture.
We can speculate who it might be, but really, I guess the question would be, is national security being compromised right now with all this speculation?
The short answer is yes, but it's not just because of the Bidens. This is what the Chinese business model is all about. They've continually pursued something called elite capture, where they're trying to form relationships, financial, personal, and otherwise, with members of American society. It's one of the reasons why they've been able to turn Hollywood. It's one of the reasons why they've been able to turn Silicon Valley. It's one of the reasons why they've been able to turn the government. They're actively trying to spy on us with any aspect of American commerce that they can, right? They're smuggling GMOs through popcorn seeds. They're sending spy balloons over parts of the country. They're buying up land and not disclosing how much. They're giving money to American academic institutions. So they're trying to find every angle they can to try to make it easier for them to take our stuff. So absolutely, we've been compromised from a national security standpoint because of the Biden family fortunes and their entanglements with China. But that's just the tip of the iceberg.
So what are the timelines of the Chinese payments to the Biden family? And, how or what decisions did it affect or that they did not make because of them?
That's a great question. I think you have to sort of consider the Biden family relationship with the Chinese government in the context of who I actually think they learned some of this political grift practice from, and that's the Clintons. You got to remember, when Barack Obama was elected in 2008, Hillary Clinton became Secretary of State at the same time that Joe Biden became Vice President. And what we saw then is the Clinton family cash in on Hillary's position. As Hillary was Secretary of State, Bill Clinton was able to make tons of money. His most lucrative speeches of all time came while Hillary was Secretary of State. And I kind of feel like the Biden family saw what the Clintons were doing and said, hey, that's a pretty good idea. And so shortly after that happened, by the Barack Obama's second term, that's when Hunter Biden travels with Joe Biden to China, and they form the first of these commercial enterprises with the Chinese government. In that case, a $1.5 billion financial institution or financial venture, Rosemont Seneca. Now, the way the Bidens have been smarter than the Clintons is the Clintons' timelines are much cleaner, right? Someone would pay for a speech, and then shortly after, they would get a favor from the Clinton State Department. The Biden timeline is not as clean that way, at least as it relates to China. But I think what it is a general softening of posture. And so when things like a Chinese spy balloon come across U.S. soil, it's one of the reasons why you might think, wait, maybe why did we wait 5 days before we shot it down? So I think it's a general hesitancy to take hard action in favor of American interests when it's actually warranted.
How does GIA chase down these stories?
Very carefully and by looking at as many public records as possible. Actually, going back to the Clintons, one of the things that the Obama administration got right is they required disclosures on behalf of the Clinton Foundation and people that had to pay for speeches to Bill. The Bidens have no such requirements. It's one of the reasons why the work that the Republican House Oversight Committee is doing is so important. They're the ones that are actually now uncovering documents that other people like the Clintons had to willingly disclose. The Bidens have not done that. And so I cannot wait to see just how many members of the Biden family are on the take. As we've reported previously at GAI, we have at least 5 transactions between members of the Biden family and the Chinese government that are worth up to $30 million. And by the way, when I say Chinese government, I mean Chinese military-industrial complex. So we have very troubling revelations, and thankfully, because the Bidens don't have disclosure requirements, members of Congress are finally doing the work to help Americans understand the full picture of just how compromised we are.
Eric, we appreciate your perspective as always. Thanks. Keep digging. All right, now let's see if we can read through some of the public moves on the next presidential race. In just the past few weeks, President Biden has moved from the far left to a position a little bit closer to the middle. Approving oil drilling in Alaska was a big example, and so is the D.C. crime bill. Some Democrats, though, are angry, but it could well be a sign that he does indeed have 2024 on his mind. Jason Rantz has been watching it all from Seattle and joins us right now. Jason, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks.
So he shimmies a little bit from the left to the center. Is that a smoke signal that he's trying to position himself to run?
I mean, he's going to run. I think people need to get used to that and accept that on the left. And I think there's a lot of anxiety there because they realize that he is so vulnerable. When you are a sitting president, you can't just do what they did last time, which is attack the other guy. In this case, he's got a record that he's going to have to defend. I think it's a bit of a mistake to look at 1 or even 2 issues where he's being somewhat reasonable, because look, at the end of the day, it's not like Republicans can say absolutely everything that Joe Biden has ever done in the history of his career is somehow really far to the left. I think you have to look overall at what he's doing. And I do think there is some semblance of sanity as it comes to, in particular, energy policy, but also crime. I think they're looking at the polls and they see pretty clearly where the American people are, and they just haven't been in lockstep with them. So I think it's a political move overall, and it's not just to help Biden. I think it's to help the Democrats.
So where else do you think his political operatives are saying, hey, Mr. President, you got to move a little right on these things?
I think these 2 issues actually are what you're going to see as we head into the election. I think they're probably going to do a lot more as it relates to crime and public safety. They'll lean into what they perceive to be more moderate positions on guns, but to, Republicans, obviously not quite moderate. When you look at the whole, he's still going to have to lean very far to the left. He's going to have to make sure that every single progressive voter, including the very young ones, get out and support him. Because as of now, he's either going to face Donald Trump again or he's going to face Ron DeSantis. Obviously, something can change and someone else can become a front runner. But if you're going up against Donald Trump and you have the record that he has, you're going to have to get a lot of people excited. And that means you're going to have to, again, try to convince those folks who were either moderate Republicans, moderate Democrats, or independents to go with him despite his record because they hate Donald Trump so much, because they don't want to necessarily go back to the types of tweets and that attitude and personality that he brought to the White House. And I think he's just trying to appeal to them right now.
Sometimes it's good to have a fight with your own team. It shows some independence. Do you think
Yeah.
that fight or disagreeing with the progressive left on some of these issues is beneficial to him overall, or do you think it causes more problems for him?
Well, I mean, it's too early to tell. What we can tell you right now is he doesn't need the base support the way he's going to come election season, right? So right now, if he's going to make any move that's going to annoy some folks in the base, do it right now, where you can at least say a few months from now to the moderates or the independents that, hey, look, you're accusing me of being this crazy progressive, but look what I did on the DC bill. Look what I did with Alaska drilling. But at the time that he ends up making that comment and giving us that reminder, it's going to be so far away from the actual incidents where he sort of betrayed, in their view, the left, that they're not going to think about it as much as they will be thinking about how do I ensure that the fascist Ron DeSantis or Donald Trump don't get elected. So I think from a timing perspective, it's very political.
You hear some names popping up in the Democratic circles, Gavin Newsom in California, obviously, Pete Buttigieg in his own cabinet. Bobby Kennedy's name comes up every now and then. Do you think there are some legitimate candidates that are lining up, and who should he have to worry about if there is a primary?
Yeah, I don't think he really has to worry. I don't see, if he declares, I don't see Gavin Newsom or any of the more mainstream Democrats step up and challenge him. And they know what's on the line, again, especially if it's Donald Trump who ends up becoming the Republican nominee. And they're not going to want to create that kind of chaos. You'll get some people challenging him, but they'll have no shot. I think Gavin Newsom, Pete Buttigieg, obviously Kamala Harris is not going to jump ship for this. So I just don't see a legitimate push from the left at this point. And again, this is all presuming he runs, and I do think he's getting set to announce his reelection.
You know, the old adage in politics, it's the economy, stupid. How does he fire up this economy, get it ready to be good when he's running?
Well, it would help if he got the out-of-control spending in control, right? I mean, when they constantly basically print money to pursue these different policy agendas that aren't helping the American people, while at the same time allowing for inflation to continue to get out of control and pretend that there's no real issues, he's just doing himself a disservice. Wherever the economy is at the moment, he's going to have to be honest about it and address it. And what rings false for so many people, when they go to a grocery store and they're struggling to make the same purchases that they made a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and then you tell them, no, everything is fine, my policies are working, you're sending the wrong message. So ultimately, I think he just has to at least be honest about the situation on the ground and then give us the plan moving forward. How we get from this point to this point, rather than pretending we're already at the end goal.
Jason, great to have you on Centerpoint.
Appreciate it. Thank you.